So, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the new Fire King cards, and they're pretty decent. I haven't fully been able to gauge them yet, but they have a lot of just random utility, but they have a tremendous weakness, I would say, against like an evenly matched. So, if you do get hit by an evenly matched, you do have like some plays, although they're just in general not going to be very good. So, here we have just pretty much pure Fire Kings, right? So, notably, Kieran is pretty good, being like non-targeting pop, and also a Monster Reborn, all in essentially one card. But the conditions and different things we have going on in Fire King makes it kind of awkward. So, notably, one of the things that kind of sucks is like you do have a spell trap negate with Rang Valley, but getting into Rang Valley is pretty obnoxious. That's how I feel about a lot of these cards. And accessing the extra deck is not like really super easy. So if we just do a test hand, like this hand, I don't really see myself getting too far here. So we can do normal summon Ponix, I suppose. And then we can grab, I guess, Fire King Skyburn, which is a pretty insane card, I guess. So this card allows you to destroy Fire King monsters you control and cards your opponent controls. And with how this works, if we target, let's say Ponix, and then let's say we target Infinite Impermanence, we can then still chain Kieran to pop the Ponix, just to be a little bit more efficient, I guess, right? So uh, then we don't have to pop something else with the Kieran. And in terms of like just cards, we have more cards overall if we do this kind of play, right? But it might be more optimal in general to save the Kieran pop for something else, assuming we have like a Kieran in hand, right? Well, it's a bit situational, but yeah, there are a lot of interactions like that that makes the deck a little more nuanced. But I guess if you somehow got Rang Valley onto the field, that might help you deal with like an unevenly matched or something. But a card that I've noticed that's really not useful is going to, of course, be Infinite Impermanence. So if we, for example, opened two Fire King Skyburns, that wouldn't even be too bad, or we just have two in hand. Because one idea is, let's say we normal summon Ponix, and then our opponent here wants to stop us from grabbing Fire King Sanctuary to then get Fire King Island. Our opponent might try to negate us here with like Imperm or Effect Veiler, which honestly, there is no super good point to Imperm. So assuming you have Imperm, you can just pretty much drop it whenever against Fire Kings. Like I genuinely don't know if there is a good point. Unless our opponent has like Arvata on their field, there's probably legitimately nothing even remotely worth imperming, right? So the idea here is, let's assume we play Fire King Skyburn at 3 and Fire King High Avatar Kirin at also 3. This is technically even stronger than Vanquish Soul, then, in terms of dodging targeted effects, right? This is most prominent with effect negation, but if we have Fire King High Avatar Kirin to pop a monster on our face-up field, and we also have Fire King Skyburn, which can technically pop Ponix and then pop Infinite Impermanence, then we're doing a lot better. So against Effect Failure, though, we can't do the play of Fire King Skyburn to pop Ponix. That's not a thing. And even if we did use Fire King Skyburn for this, it doesn't feel as bad, even if we were to have one of them, because if a Fire King card or cards you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. We also have this effect, which is pretty solid. So, out of all of the duels I've played, though, I've very, very rarely been able to access IP. Although, like, IP itself is fine because we can, like, IP into SB, IP into whatever. Um, we had those options, but this never super comes up. Like, it does come up, I guess, but it's just not that often because you just don't have super easy access to into your extra deck. So here, let's assume we're trying our absolute hardest to get into our extra deck here. How can we go about this? If we grab, for example, Circle of the Fire Kings, Circle is not like that crazy or anything. It's like whatever. It's funny as a one-up, I suppose. But if we use Circle of the Fire Kings, what does this do for us? So if we were to use this on Ponix and it brings back Arvata, doesn't really do anything. If we have Fire King Island here, we could at least pop, I suppose. Let's see, what would we pop here actually? Yeah, there really isn't anything super good to pop off of Fire King Island as happens this time around. So I don't see myself being able to get even like 3 bodies onto the field for IP here. Not in a reasonable way. So off of this, we could search Fire King Sanctuary. Does that do much for us? I mean, if we activate Fire King Island to pop the Garunix, and then activated second Fire King Island, it will trigger the first Fire King Island to destroy all of our monsters on field, and then our Vata pop isn't that worthwhile, so that doesn't really help us. So yeah, that hand, despite being like Fire King Island plus Ponix, it doesn't get us anywhere. Regarding our extra deck, I don't see any additional negates we can get, so here, this might as well have been the same hand. I don't think that's any different. And then here, this hand might actually get us somewhere. So let's see how we can do this. So activate Sanctuary, and then that places Fire King Island. And then we can Fire King Island to pop, I guess, like Volcanics. But when would we do that? That's a genuine question, isn't it? So would we actually do normal summon Volcanics first to pop Kieran then? That might be the better play. And then we activate Fire King Island later to then add to our hand either Onyx or Garunix. And then we can do Garunix's effect to pop a card in our deck. In this case, we could pop another Kieran to get another monster reborn. Or if we just plainly want a monster reborn, I think Arvata would be better here because we already have Kieran in the graveyard. That should be fine to do. So we could just do that, I guess, and then we would link off, I suppose. Would we link off? Well, if we link off, we don't have any Fire Kings on the field, so we can't do anything with those. Kieran will trigger in the end phase if we just leave it be, I believe, so we can do that to special summon back Arvata. So that there was Volcanics, which we would have popped to summon, I guess, Fire King High Avatar Garunix. So if we did that, we would have the ability to, I guess, if we really want to, we could link off, I guess, Sacred Fire King Garunix as well as the OG Garunix, right? So we link off these two, and then we can make like IP, or technically we could kind of do a rank 8, but I believe that that's pretty scuffed. And if we do that, we don't have any fires actually to pop with Arvata whenever we do special summon back our copy of Arvata, right? Actually, yeah, we don't have Ponix, so yeah, that doesn't quite get us anywhere, so that's a pretty decent 3 card, and we can't even fit IP onto our board. It's just pure Fire King stuff. But it's not to say the board is bad, it's just Fire King stuff, right? But let's see, with this hand, okay, could we go that much further? Yeah, probably. We can pop Arvata in the hand, right? Yeah. So if we normal summon Volcanics, pop Arvata. Wait, if we pop Arvata, is this what we want to do, actually? Maybe. Hard to say. If we pop Arvata, we have nothing in the graveyard for Arvata, so the issue clearly here is that we can't magically have more cards, right? If we were to start by doing Fire King Island to pop, I guess we could pop technically Ash Blossom Joy Spring if we really want to try to make a play of some sort, like to extend further and get deeper into our extra deck or at all. I guess that's the play we would have to do. Pop Ash Blossom Joe Spring, and then since this is a fire, we should be able to special summon like Garunix or Ponix, right? And that's neat, I guess. Worth mentioning, I guess, is well, Barong has a similar effect to like Ponix and Runix, but this one only works if a face-up Fire King monster you control is destroyed. So that one, a little bit awkward, I guess. But having your card Spanish is pretty bad by evenly, yeah, I would say. So still kind of got like tangented off of that, but yeah. Getting access into your cards for like your grind game and your combos, uh, yeah, something you really want to be doing, right? But we could just be completely unable to do so, which just sucks in general. If you think of it from like a different perspective, I guess, hmm, these cards do a lot of things just in general. Like, if we just go to Brong, Brong has two different effects, and then it can grab me like Ponix, which has two different effects as well. Or actually, rather, this has three effects technically. Special summon itself, add a Fire King spell trap, and then we have this card is destroyed, it gets added back to the hand during the next standby. So all of the cards do a lot of things in general, but the real question here is, are these effects good enough? Like, we do a lot of things, so if we compare to, for example, tier limits, let's not focus too much on exactly what the effects are here right now. It's just the fact that if you look at Sharon, Sharon technically special summons itself, mills 3, and then has a fusion summon effect. Onyx has a lot of the same type of things, but the deal with some of these guys is the timing on when the effects happen. So these guys are pretty good, I would say, overall. Like perhaps around 7 out of 10 range if we're looking at the Fire King cards. They're not like that bad, not that good, but they're like all right, I guess, like a little bit better than all right, even. But they have some jank to them as well, and you have the issue of having to play Fire King Island. Fire King Island being pretty annoying. So if your opponent like does Cosmic Cyclone on your Fire King Island, you just get board wiped. And this board wipe isn't just a board wipe because of course like some of your Fire Kings trigger off of destruction, right? But the issue is you kind of have to use their effects because you wouldn't be able to do anything afterwards. So if we, for example, could trigger Garunix after like Fire King Island is popped, sure, we can summon back Garunix, but what does this mean? We could Kirin to bring back a guy. So unless we have, I guess, specifically Fire King Sanctuary, it's not going to be looking that great, right? We could Fire King Sanctuary to summon our copy of Garunix Eternity here, which would be the play, but that's all we would have left. If we were to instead have waited out the whole thing, right? We could have got our Kirin pop, in which case here we have nothing good to pop with the Kirin. And we still have this. We can summon our Runix Eternity here. And there is also the potential of us losing like Arvata if this was on the field. We just wouldn't have the ability to use this monster negate anymore, so another tragedy here. We just lose a bajillion interactions off of Cosmic, right? Essentially. And it forces our triggers to be able to use like our remaining like interaction, so can't really hold for anything. Like even if we had like a Ponix in hand, if we special summon Ponix, we would need like magically another Kirin in hand to maybe pop the Ponix, and then that triggers maybe like our Sacred Fire King Grunix here to then pop Kirin, Kirin effect, summon like maybe, I guess, depends, but it summons a guy, and then we can maybe go like effective Fire King Sanctuary to do a quick XYZ. So now that I realize this, I didn't notice this before. This effect simply says once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can immediately after this effect resolves XYZ summon a fire XYZ monster using only Fire King monsters you control. This only requires level 8 monsters, which is intriguing, but okay. If we were to do this, then look at Fire XYZs. I was unaware of this until just now. You can make every single one of these guys, technically. They're possible to make, right? You don't really have the levels for this, but if for some reason we had level 7 Fire Kings, we could make Kishtira Shankar Era. Hmm. We can make Battling Boxer Nova Kaiser. We can make Salmon Great Raj Stalio. Well, that's just a thing, I guess. I don't think any of these Fire XYZs are particularly good. Just from what I remember, right? Uh, yeah. I don't think any of these are going to be doing much for you. Oh, Crooked Cook. Kind of viable, actually. This also pops their own cards. That's a maybe from me, dog, but yeah. The Fire King cards, I guess we should quickly go over them. Well, didn't really go over the effects, so let's do that real quick. So, Onyx essentially will just cycle itself every single turn and just grab you more Fire King spell traps. So this sounds good on paper, but the issue with Ponix is that it just runs out of good targets to add. Yeah, that's about it, right? So we have Onslaught of the Fire Kings here. This card, not that good, and your spell traps in general, aside from like Fire King Skyburn, they're not that good in general. But it allows you to at least get follow-up, so you kind of have like a bit of a safety net. Going forward, we could just grab like a bunch of Fire King Sanctuaries and Fire King Islands or whatever, or later turns. So if our opponent were to remove one of our cards, Fire King Island has no hard ones per turn. We could just, for example, activate another Fire King Island, and then we could grab like a starter, I guess, from this point, kind of maybe ish, right? So we still have a lot of cards that we can mess around with, I guess. We do this, right? But in general, if we get to like a late enough turn, Onyx incredibly just falls off and has no search targets, and all it does is just special summons itself, gets put into the graveyard, or you just don't even bother summoning it at some point, maybe. But yeah, that's kind of where we get to, right? And then we have Volcanics. Volcanics also has like a similar issue where obviously you don't want to be running multiple like high avatar Runixes, but this does not summon the high avatar Grunix from your hand, only from the deck, so it's just a random Garnet you have to run here. But the effect on here is kind of decent, although like you cycle through a lot of things like relatively fast, so once again, running out targets to like search off of this effect, kind of an issue. You don't really have any like super good recycling. Like with Tearlament, for example, you just recycle your fusion monsters, you recycle your fusion material. Kind of disgusting when you think about it, and it just does that for free, right? So there's that, and then Fire King High Avatar Runix. This guy is a little bit annoying. That doesn't really help us that much. One of the downsides of this is that you might not be aware, but this is not going to trigger by destruction, but only by battle. So this second effect here, when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, uh, you can special summon a Fire King monster from your deck. So that effect's good and all, but how do we even summon this in attack position? The only way we could do that is if we summon it off of Kirin, or if we summon it off of Arvata. If we summon it off of Volcanics, it has to special summon in defense position, which is an annoying restriction. So we have some more jank there. And then Barong has what might as well be no effects, is how it kind of feels. I guess the effect to special summon itself from the hand is like not that bad, but like how did Ring Belly get into our hand? and we need a face of Fire King monster to be destroyed. So that's a little bit annoying as well, I guess. And these effects, I believe they must destroy to negate, don't they? Destroy one other. Wait, no. It negates first. Oh, wait. That changes things, doesn't it? So for Arvata and stuff, right? How does this work? And if you do special summon this card, not all of them work the same. Yeah, all of these cards have somewhat different text. It's kind of annoying, actually. There's so much text and things and interactions to actually memorize. Now that I'm looking at this, Ring Bally's effect here. If a face-up parking monster you control is destroyed by card effect, so this doesn't trigger by battle, actually, for some reason. But this one also doesn't trigger by battle. This does trigger by battle, and this triggers by battle as well. So some of these don't trigger by battle, some of these are card effect only, some of these are destroyed by battle only, and then we have like protection with this. This is only by card effect, not by battle. So, okay, I guess. And then if we have a fire monster in our hand, we can activate the effect of Arvata, right? Then if we were to, let's say, Forbidden Droplet, after we Arvata, right? Let's see, negate and then destroy in your hand or face of field. Let's assume we chain Arvata and we do currently have like Aponyx or something, and then we chain Forbidden Droplet to negate our opponent's like other monster. This would just negate and then just not destroy because it can't destroy itself, right? And this also works the same as the other one. So, rulings, lots of rulings. Also worth mentioning here, might as well, is that we can only use one effect of Fire King Skyburn per turn, so we can't use the effect to destroy and then the effect to protect on the same turn, but like, we could fairly easily do Skyburn and then protect on the next turn, because we still need to figure out a way to search Skyburn, and we have a limited amount anyway, so being able like to use the destruction effect like every single turn isn't like that high on the list, I suppose. So that is just another thing, I guess. Another jank is that Kieran has to actually get destroyed to trigger its effect, the special summon. So if we just special summon Kieran, it won't actually trigger anything. But if we special summon or even normal summon Sacred Fire King Garunix, this will just trigger and be able to destroy a card and do things in general. So yeah, just in general, lots of rulings and stuff, but the deck isn't like too unfair strong or like super weak or anything. I think it's at a fairly reasonable level. It excels at what it does, but it's not like insane and able to do literally everything. In terms of just going first and second ability, I'd say it exists, like it's there, but this is definitely what I wouldn't call Z tier, you know? So in terms of just how strong this deck is, it's okay. The thing though is I feel like the mirror isn't that fun at all. People that say mirrors are fun, I think, are psychopaths. Well, I haven't really practiced the mirror enough to completely get it down optimal, but I can generally see where mistakes were made and see if they mattered or not. So, yeah, I don't feel like there's an insane amount of outplaying here. Just feels like whoever can outgrind the other generally wins. It's not that fun of a mirror. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.